I had something on my mind that I wanted to tell Trey, but I cannot for the life of me remember what it was.
Was it about Pretty Lights, Red Rocks?
It was probably about Pretty Lights, Red Rocks. Should we start with Pretty Lights, Red Rocks?
It feels like a good starting point. Yeah.
All right, you guys go ahead and start it.
Well, I'll start it and say, Blake, so what were you doing Friday and Saturday night to not? I'm assuming you didn't go. I shouldn't judge, but I'll make the assumption that you weren't there.
No, I was not. I was working. True. I work Friday and Saturdays.
Like at a job?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know you worked.
Yeah, like a real job. Because the podcast still hasn't blown up yet, despite our best efforts. But once it does, I'm bucking out. I'm out of.
That's the whole point.
This is the whole goal.
Yeah, I don't remember if that's been shared with Anthony, and for maybe some of our newer viewers or listeners. But the whole point of this podcast is for us to be able to quit a job, so we don't have to do shit anymore.
Yeah,
so do this 1 hour a week.
Yeah, 1 hour a week, baby.
Job, so I'm good working with dogs daily. It's pretty special, but any success with the pod, I'm down. But that being said, Blake, if you had quit your job and were not working, would you have gone to Red Rocks to see Pretty Lights and the extravaganza that it was?
I would have gone for a night. For sure.
Now,
one night.
Have you heard about anything that happened at Red
I heard
Rocks?
Tipper was there. I heard Dave. Lisan Al-Gaib of the Wooks was there. And I heard, Trey sent me some videos. It looked pretty fucking tight. So, I'm happy for the PL fans, man. I'm glad they had a good time. No hate over here,
I'm not going to lie to you. When he came out, the whole crowd started chanting, Lisan Al-Gaib. Lisan Al-Gaib.
Literally, the Red Rocks, just everybody went straight down to their knees and just started doing
horribly on the keys, just started bowing from the side stage.
He got up and started dancing.
He really
out
did.
of his booth
sick.
And was like, dude, it was something special. Yeah, for the people there, for the people at home, for those working, it was pretty special.
So let me tell you my experience with that. So I was streaming this show. I actually went out and I'm doing a little bit of a sketchy thing. If you're a Best Buy fanboy, don't listen to this, but I went to Best Buy and I bought like a really expensive, really nice projector just to stream with, and then I'm going to take it back to Best Buy and get my money back. It's worth it, dude. So we put it outside. We put it outside, and we had some nice speakers going with it. And we were watching it, but I had a friend text me, and he was like, "Yo, Dominique Lively's sitting in with Pretty Lights tonight," and I was like, "There's no way." And he was like, "And Tipper is too," and I was like, "Dude, okay."
Before?
Yes, he texted us before. And so then when Dom came out, I was like, "All right, well, there's one," and I was like, "There's no way that Tipper's coming out too," and then Tipper came out as well. And I can't imagine what it was like in that crowd. It was really cool to stream it. And what I want to talk about that whole thing is, man, the mesh of Bombay Bump and Tepid Bile, like the transition from one to the other was so perfect. And when Dave came out, Derek hopped on the mic and he was like, "We have a special guest with us tonight." And then Dave scratched it, like his signature, like scratch sound. And like you just heard the crowd erupt. Like he didn't say his name or anything. He never even said his name till he was like done with his like little 2-minute routine. And started walking off stage, and Derek's like, "Thanks, Dave Tipper."
Gangster.
So that's all he did. It was just like 2 minutes, and then he was in and out.
Just 2 minutes. He was in and out. I would love to know the conversation that they had. Like, I'd love to know how it started, and why he only did 2 minutes. But honestly, it was but it was cool because it was still just like a little like taste. And also, he's directly doing like another band member's job, so like you don't really want him to like upstage Carnes or anything like that, No. It's a pretty delicate balance, I think, amongst that band group, as far as like making sure that everyone gets their credit and stuff. They're still a young band, but overall, Pretty Lights, Red Rocks, excellent run from the boys. Good start to essentially start to the tour. Technically, the tour started back in June, but yeah, really, really great song. Dionysus with strings, some really special moments happened. So really jealous of anybody that got to be there, but guess what? Can't make them all. That's
true.
That's why technology is there, right?
Exactly.
So people tune in if you're not tuning in, because it's worth checking out, especially with these upcoming Woodstock shows.
Yeah. Now those I will be in attendance for. So. They'll be a lot of fun.
Interviews.
I'm doing Anthony. Just so you know, I'm doing a night in Vegas. Me and Amanda are going.
Her first Pretty Lights.
Yeah, her first Pretty Lights experience. Her first, I told Trey it was her first electronic show, and Trey was like, "They're actually a jam band."
Yeah, immediately that was my reply. Not cool or good for her. It'll be fun to do it with her. Just,
yeah,
sir,
actually.
Excuse me, they're a jam band now, sir. They're a jam band.
So we're gonna do Saturday. So I am excited for it. I mean, half of the draw is just going to Las Vegas because that's my favorite shithole, and that's
Las Vegas.
Definitely bringing me there.
Vegas.
So
does Amanda share your love for Las Vegas?
I mean, she enjoys it, but like she's not a big gambler, so she just goes for the vibes.
She just goes.
But now you get to bring a bike, lose money, right? You get to bring your bike there. Can you?
What?
Are you gonna fly or you drive?
We're gonna fly. I mean, I could drive, but it's like 10 hours. I don't want to do 10 hours on the bike.
10 hours on the bike sounds awful.
Yeah.
Not unless you're in the Easy Rider Club. You know, remember those folks from the movie we watched?
True.
From California to Louisiana. I'm doing it one day. I'll get my license.
Would be tight. That would be super tight.
I'll do it reverse.
So we want to get into the album?
Yeah, let's do it. Album.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's Totally Biased Music. It's Blake, Trey, and Anthony, and today we're reviewing Stankonia from Outkast, which was my pick. Little Apple Music intro. Who else but Rap's most fearless creative duo could open their biggest album with a bonfire of American dreams? Outkast's fourth LP may have launched them into the mainstream, but there's nothing safe about it. Even the most populous track, Miss Jackson, is a glitchy galactic soul number about a messy divorce. The collection is prepped with slow-mo funk cuts, neo-soul stepping anthems, and political drum and bass. There is no genre, no mainstream versus underground. There is only groove. So I picked this album because, I want us to go back in time and maybe pull out some hip-hop classics that are widely regarded and appreciated across the hip-hop spectrum. Obviously, Trey, you and I have seen Outkast. I don't know if Anthony was at that hangout that they were at, but great show and classic duo. And, Andre doesn't rap anymore. It's not his thing. He just plays the flute, which is really cool. But it was good to go back to 2000 and kind of see what made Outkast. So what did you guys think? Trey, lead us off.
First off, we're gonna get back to the Andre playing flute thing later because it actually is really fucking cool. But man, I really enjoyed listening to this. I can't say that I'd listened to Stankonia front to back before. Obviously, I'd listened to the singles and the hits, and listened to a few of the select cuts. Specifically, like I'd heard the Killer Mike track before, because I really like Run the Jewels. So like at one point in time, I went back and listened to like every Outkast Killer Mike song. But yeah, I really enjoyed listening to this front to back. Love that you picked this. Great selection. Am a little curious why you picked this album out of like Outkast. So a couple questions I have for you are: why did you pick this out of I'm just curious. Why did you pick this out of Outkast's catalog, and why did you pick this out of like classic rap, like catalog in general?
Because we've never done any Outkast anything, and I think it's an interesting duo, an interesting dynamic having a duo group, right? Because they each bring their piece to the album. Okay. I bounced back and forth between Stankonia and AT Aliens because AT Aliens is phenomenal. It's really good, but I don't know. I just landed on Stankonia because I felt like it was more digestible almost. And then like the speaker box, The Love Below is 2.5 hours long. So I didn't want to do that one. Like I would love to maybe one day do that whole album, or maybe do like an episode of Speaker Box and then an episode of The Love Below, but it's just too much music. I think for an hour-long podcast. So I landed on Stankonia.
Gotcha. Well, in a lot of ways, this is the last Outkast album, because Speaker Box, Love Below is kind of two separate albums. Like one's a Big Boy album, one's an Andre album, and they kind of feature on each other's thing.
Yeah.
So a lot of ways, this is, and it kind of when I was like going back and listening, because I listened to a couple other, Outkast tracks, just kind of got me in the mood for it. And I kind of realized I was like, they have a pretty small catalog for being as legendary as they are.
Yeah, they do.
In a pretty short career span, really. So yeah, I really enjoyed listening to this. Happy to get into top tracks in just a minute. But Anthony, obviously want to hear what your experience was.
And I wonder too if that like small catalog is due. How much of that is due to Andre's acting, like starting to get other projects, taken under his belt. But me and Outkast, Speaker Box and The Love Below was one of the first, like, definitely the first Outkast album I listened to. I just remember buying that and getting the double CD and like all the artwork and so much cool shit. in that album. But I had never heard this one all the way through. Definitely had heard of it. I love the album artwork. It's so gangster. But
True.
yeah, it's an interesting listen. Outkast is the description that you read, Blake, is very accurate as far as the genre bending and breaking and mending. It's like they're very creative and very ingenious in the way that they put things together. I don't think anyone, I don't know, y'all think anyone could even compare to Outkast as far as what they do? Because they're so unique in my mind, the two, Big Boy and Andre, coming together.
I think a lot of people have taken parts of what they do and done them really well. I think Kendrick does a good job at like kind of doing the same type of flows that Andre's famous for. I mean, probably in my opinion, even better. Um, Honestly, a lot of listening to this album, and Blake, you're not gonna like this, but a lot of the way that this album is mixed and mastered reminds me of Tyler the Creator's Cherry Bomb. In that a lot of I knew you weren't gonna like it because a lot of it's like car sound system music where like the bass and like the mids are pushed super forward in the mix and the vocals are a little bit more of like part of instrumentation rather than like the focal point of each song. Specifically, let me go to my notes really quick. Specifically like Spaghetti Junction was one that I thought sounded a lot like that. We Love These Hoes, which is A, hilarious. B, but yeah, like that's a song, like a lot of those are kind of like mastered. So I think, I think Tyler, good or bad, however you feel about Cherry Bomb, I think Tyler does that pretty well. So, but I don't think anyone does everything that they do as well as they do it. No.
Yeah.
But I guess it's good. It's one thing to say that they were kind of like the first of their kind, I guess.
Yeah.
Their lane, and then influenced a lot of other artists that we, listen to today or hear of today.
Yeah, and so many people
yeah.
like so many people have Andre as like their greatest rapper of all time. Even like Andre is really your favorite rapper's favorite rapper. Like people other hip hop artists love him and big hip hop heads love him. So rightfully so. I mean you can hear it on this album for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, well let's get into top tracks. Trey, you can lead us off.
Cool. All right, so top tracks for me. So number 3, I have Bombs Over Baghdad, B.O.B.
Bagpipes, I like that. Give Andre more ideas.
That's an Eminem song, Bagpipes from Baghdad.
Bagpipes from Baghdad's an Eminem song. So Bombs Over Baghdad for my number 3 track. Obviously, it's a pretty massive song. It's one of the 3 like big singles that came out of this. So like you had Miss Jackson, So Fresh, So Clean, and Bombs Over Baghdad. The way that like Andre has this like frenetic, like almost like every word that he's speaking when he's rapping over this has to like come out of his mouth in the next half second. Like he can't get his word out, you know what I mean? But it's not like rapid fire like Busta Rhymes raps. It's just like kind of, it sounds like
it's like breakbeat rapping almost.
It's like breakbeat rapping, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Big Boy's flow on it's sick too.
Oh, so good, dude. Yeah,
it's
he kills it.
It's the perfect example of their like complementary, like Big Boy being your more traditional like bar over bar rapper, and Andre just being like super unique. The beat on it's iconic, right?
Yeah,
100%.
The hook, the da, 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 like just the sound, not even like the vocals, and it sounds almost like and I don't know if it is like a Eastern instrument or like Eastern sample, but it sounds like it definitely could be. So yeah, that's my number 3 track. Number 2 is Snappin' and Trappin'. The Killer Mike verse is
interesting.
Sick.
Okay,
dude, I love that song. And like honestly, I listened to this. So my like listening experience was I was like I had a 5-hour drive on Saturday, and so I was like listening to it in my car and like had it cranked. And man, like I keep this is weird, but I keep 2 golf balls in each one of my little side pockets of my car doors so that whenever my bass hits, it like rattles them. It sounds kind of cool. So, like sometimes I'll take them out and sometimes I won't. I figured this out very naturally because one time I was at the driving range and I had 4 balls.
Like, what is that sound?
Yeah, and literally I was driving. I was like, "What does that sound? It sounds cool." And like I thought it was in the song. I was like, "Oh, that's his golf balls." I was like, "That's sick." So I put it in there. But man, like this song had those golf balls jumping. So that's a new metric for me. Is if the golf balls jump, that means the song pumps.
Very nice.
Yeah, and then my number one track on this album is something that I think might cause a little bit of controversy. Humble Mumble with Erykah Badu.
Really?
Dude, I really like Erykah Badu. I like her voice. I think it's super smooth. I think it works great with Andre. I think they were together at this point, maybe, or not. I'm not really sure when that whole thing happened. But yeah, I really like the song. It's like a nice little break in like the rest of the record. But yeah, those are my top three, for better or worse.
Very fair, very fair. Anthony, what about you?
And maybe for worse. I mean, we'll call back. It's going to be interesting. This conversation is going to get interesting real quick, I think, because my number 3 track, I put Spaghetti Junction. For me, this album, I love, like Big Boy, his rap style, Andre, his rap style are undeniable, and they will fit into anything you put them in. Like I would love to be in the studio with them to hear them listen to one of these tracks for the first time and then jump into it with what they feel creatively mix as well. So I think they're so adaptable. For me, it's the production on Spaghetti Junction. It's a very smooth track. So that's why I like it and wasn't really thrown off too much by the distant vocals or the layering in that track. Number 2, I have Bombs Over Baghdad. Again, undeniable track, but the guitar in that track is something that never really stuck out to me over time. But listening again really did kind of elevate it to the next level for me. Which I don't know if either of them are playing guitar, but I know they had a lot of musicians come in and feature on this album, just like as backing. So that is my number 2 track. Number 1 is So Fresh and So Clean. I think that is also another great example of the balance between Big Boy and Andre. And there's some bass licks in the background of that track that are just kind of giving off this funky George Clinton kind of vibe. And so that's why it gets number 1 for me. So fresh
Mm-hmm. So Fresh and So Clean is just like it's such driving music, man. Mm-hmm. Just riding around in the car, just bobbing your head, just So Fresh and So Clean. Like it's such a good song.
It's super catchy. You know, yeah. I mean, anyone listening and you hear that, like if you're hearing it in passing, you're gonna either be like, "What is that?" Like you're just like naturally gravitate towards that.
Yeah. So I had this was interesting because like. This was really the first time I sat down and listened to the whole thing front to back. And I will say, like, Outkast, and partially because of this genre bending, snapping, melding, as Anthony would say, like, there are some songs I really like on this album. There are some songs that I really, really dislike, too. It's like a weird mixed bag. But for my top track, so for number 3, I have Gasoline Dreams, dude. What a fucking way to open an album. Like, just off the fucking right off the break, just that guitar comes in and it's just upbeat and fast, and like the chorus, don't everybody like the smell of gasoline? It's just like let's fucking go. So I really like that song. It's a nice hype intro to like get you ready for what you're about to hear. And then number 2, Spaghetti Junction, dude. Spaghetti Junction is, and it's like, I kind of agree with what both of you guys are saying, right? Like this song absolutely fucking slaps, like production wise. The bass, it's a slow kind of head bobber like beat to it, but it hits really hard. And the verses are great, man. Andre, and this is really like, I think this is kind of a pinnacle of how the two can work together in a song. And like, this is a really hot take. Like a really hot take, but like if I were to just listen to Stankonia, I would say that Big Boy's the better rapper. Like I think he outshines Andre on a lot of these tracks. And so like I don't know, you know, when you listen to the whole discography as a whole, especially AT Aliens, Andre really shines, but man, Big Boy's so fucking good. And then my number 1 song is Bombs Over Baghdad. Like everything that you guys already mentioned, that Trey already mentioned, like the beat iconic, and This is Big Boy's verse on this song is my favorite verse on the whole album. Like his flow is just perfection, dude. And like at like the 140 mark when he says I'm gonna hit it rag top, that's when this guitar comes in, like that repeated guitar, and it just sounds so good. It's just it's an anthem, dude. It's a political anthem for sure. Iconic. I think like probably months ago I brought this as a rides or dies. I don't know if Anthony, if you were on that episode or not. I know Christian was, and yeah, it's just it's forever a banger. And then some honorable mentions, right? Like So Fresh So Clean, Miss Jackson. You gotta put Miss Jackson on there. It's a fucking classic. It's been streamed over 1 billion times, which is insane. 1.1 billion times. So always gonna be a staple of Outkast for sure.
Yeah.
But that's what I had. Any thoughts on that, Trey?
Blake, really aligned with all your top picks. Based on your reaction when I was saying mine earlier, I feel like some of mine might be in your bottom ones, which is going to
only time will tell.
Only time will tell. There's only one way for us to figure out how to carry on.
Yeah,
exactly.
All right. Well, I'm going to give you my first off. Before I give you my bottom three, I want to talk a little bit about the skits.
I was going to say something about that too.
I think they're great. I love them.
Yeah,
and there was like
that's
a thing
surprising
in the early '90s, early '90s. I guess whenever Eminem decided to stop doing it, skits were very common in these rap albums, right?
Yeah,
like, it was almost necessary. A lot of times they're super annoying. A lot of times they're too long. These, though, they're like 15 seconds. They're kind of funny sometimes. Sometimes they're just like part of the story or whatever. But then I just love the break like, every time.
Yeah.
I think it's great. And I think we should start ending our podcast that way. But,
I just wish they would have like incorporated some sort of made up like play, like a football play. Like the first one does it. Like we're all kind of like talking in a huddle, but then at the end, like the other ones, it just ends it with the break. So if they would have added like some sort of like element of continuity with the break, like, all right, now we're going to do this, and then, that would have had me more on the hook.
Here's a question for Trey. So Trey, when we did Good Kid, Mad City, Anthony did not like that the skits were basically baked into the Kendrick songs on that album. Do you prefer that, or do you prefer having skits that you can skip through a lot easier?
I'm not going to talk shit about Good Kid, Mad City ever.
It's just like your preference, yeah.
But as far as what my preference would be, not using Good Kid, Mad City as an example, so I'm going to ignore that part. I would prefer for them to be skippable because it increases the album's re-listenability.
Okay.
There's no
and you can give it a name. Like then you can have fun with that shit. Right? You can call it what are some funny ones? There wasn't really good. The track names were funnier. Prenup. You got an interlude called Prenup, which is literally just somebody hey, you mind signing this real quick?
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's funny.
What do you got for bottom tracks, Trey?
All right, bottom tracks. I got oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Whew.
God, how old are you?
I'm a little tired, man.
Trey's time zone jumping over here.
It's late lagging. For me. I'm jet lag from the hour time difference. All right, so bottom tracks for me. The third most bottom track, and it's just because I've heard it so many fucking times, is Miss Jackson. I know. I'm not trying to be contrarian. I'm really not. But that hook, I'm just like, dude, I just can't ever hear it ever again. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Like, I'm good. I'm good. It's been in like 47 different commercials, which we'll get back to commercial music later. But I just can't listen to it anymore. It's not even that it's a bad song. I just don't want to listen to it anymore.
That's fair.
Right? Yeah.
My number 2 worst song, I even hate to say this, is Slow and Beautiful, the CeeLo song. Just didn't enjoy it. Wanted more out of a CeeLo feature, especially back then, CeeLo was kind of the man. Gnarls Barkley was just around the corner, and just not terribly enjoyable. But let me get to my number 1 least favorite song, and that will be I'll Call Before I Come. I think that song is not redeemable in any way, except for the Kim and Cookie interlude before, which is pretty damn funny. She got him a Minuteman. I think that song's terrible. The beat is like this garage band metronome, like doubled over thing. There's not really much to it. And that's a song I think they should be ashamed of making.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I really didn't like that track. Other than that was really the only song that I was like, I hate this. Everything else pretty solid.
That's fair. Anthony, what do you got?
All right, so I've talked about distracting samples a lot, and this album has a lot to take in from a sampling standpoint. So these are really in no particular order, but We Love These Hoes I have on there, along with Snap and Trappin'. Both have similar kind of, I don't know how you would describe it, but it's like almost like 2-bit sounds that are like very like, I don't know. It was just too much for me to get past. So I had to put those on there. And the third one I put it on here because how you described with CeeLo, Trey. Like, I put Humble Mumble on here because I love Erykah Badu, and I want Erykah Badu to do Erykah Badu with Outkast, like this smooth soulfulness. Like, I want to feel it, but I wrote Misusage of Erykah Badu next to Humble Mumble. So that's why it gets a bottom track for me, because I feel like there's so much potential there. Same with CeeLo, Same with Killer Mike, like even Snap and Trappin'. Like, I want to hear Killer Mike on a fucking banging track, it just got distracting.
That's fair.
That is fair. I had so number 3, Snappin' and Trappin'. I just like, man, I really like, and I know like we have talked about it, like Outkast wants to be experimental with their songs and their production, but the beat on this song is so fucking whack, man. And like the alien vibes I'm getting from this is just distracting to me, and it's just like, it's so chaotic and not in a good way to me, and it takes away from the verses, because Killer Mike does have a really good verse, but the high pitch throughout the whole fucking song is like, oh my god, it just takes me out of it, dude. I don't know what it is. And then I gotta agree with Trey on I'll Call Before I Come. First off, what, like, why, man? But like, and this is the thing, 90s, early 2000s rappers, a lot of sexual, very graphic sexual song names. There's a skit on Ready to Die. It's just Biggie having sex with somebody. Like, I don't know what was going on around that time. Like, whatever. That was the thing, I guess. But like, this song is just not good. And I don't know if like I take the Trey approach, if they should be ashamed that they made this, but it's not very good.
They should be ashamed that they made this.
Not very good to me. And then oh shit, sorry. And then Humble Mumble. I agree with everything Anthony said. He already hit the nail on the head. The Erykah Badu was wasted here. Not the way that she should have been used, in my opinion, and just falls short, dude. And like, and I hate to do this, but like, honorable mention for worst songs.
Yeah, I'm curious about this, because there's definitely more.
I'm gonna have to throw in Gangsta Shit too, because this song is just all over the fucking place, dude. Like,
what, that song made me want to run through a brick wall. That was like almost in my top 3.
I know, and like, I wanted
was it to cause injury.
Yes.
I wanted to like it, but Anthony, it reminds me of Anthony when we did My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, and he said that So Appalled had too many cooks in the kitchen. Yeah. That's what Gangsta Shit is to me. Too many cooks in the kitchen, man. We got 5 rappers on this song. 5 rappers. That's too many rappers for one song. So it was just jarring, man. It was too much for me.
Yeah. I think like this album is incredibly busy, and I haven't listened to Speakerbox or The Love Below in a long time, but I kind of want to now, because this came out immediately before that album. Is that correct?
It was like 3 years. So,
but like, was it? But
it was the
next
one
album
previous. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So like, that would be interesting to see how they came out of Stankonia into that, and see if they kind of like said, all right, we did a lot of shit that last one. Let's maybe simplify it a little bit. Mm-hmm. That would be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Before we get into our rankings, so Pitchfork has a ranking. So let's all take our guess. Trey, what do you got?
Really quick, I do want to point out, just while we're still talking about this before we get there, sorry.
No, it's okay.
This is definitely the most features that they ever had on an album too. Just kind of looking through Equimini and AT Aliens, and Speakerbox Love Below. So this was kind of like their. I feel like in a lot of ways it was like get the whole neighborhood involved type of deal. I did look it up while we were talking, and Erykah Badu and Andre were together by this point. So like Andre's getting his girl on track. I respect that.
That's fair.
Yeah, come on, I mean, we gotta do what
Girl do what she does.
Yeah, like she's gonna ask, you're gonna say no. Come on.
AT Aliens only has one feature on the whole fucking album.
Yeah,
it's a very last song.
Equipment only has like 2 or 3, and one of them's George Clinton. George Clinton, Raekwon, and then a couple of those same guys that are on gangsta shit.
Yeah. Those are OGs, though, no doubt.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, so what do I think Pitchfork gave it? Pitchfork being Pitchfork and this being a band's 3rd album, I'm going to say Pitchfork gave it like a 5.2, and they didn't even listen to it.
Okay, Anthony, what do you think?
Yeah, I was going to say a 5.
So 9.5 is what they gave it. And
I can't nail these guys down.
I know, because all over the fucking place, dude. And
it's over generations too, because we've done present albums and they're still fucked.
You know? Yeah. It says what could have been a victory lap for 2 Southern rappers on top of the game was instead a transcendental funk fantasia, an unequivocal commercial and artistic triumph. The guy really tried to put in a lot of big words at that. Yeah. He was like, I know words. I know words. Yeah. Okay, Rolling Stone out of 5. What do you think they gave it?
Now I'm going to guess a 4.
Anthony?
I'll say 3 out of 5.
It was a 4. And then here's a tricky one. This one we really like to do. It doesn't happen often, but Rolling Stone put it on their top 500 greatest albums of all time. So I'll give you a range. It's between 200 and 1. I'll narrow it down to between 200 and 1.
So cut that down.
I cut off 300 albums.
Yeah. I mean, it's in their top 200.
Yeah.
Know?
So
of all time, like not just hip hop.
Yeah, of all time. So what do you think, Trey?
Let me take a guess. I'll say 198.
I'm gonna say 123.
64.
Of
all time. Number 64.
See, this is the general public. This is what the general public has to go off of. You know, they look at this list and they realize, okay, it must be one of the top 60 albums of all time. I have to strongly disagree just because of all the content that, I mean, it's just, that's the same.
Well, Trey, what do you got for ranking?
Well, I just want to say, like, where's Color Map of the Sun in the top 500 albums?
I'm going to assume it's not on there. I'm going to assume it's not on there.
It should be.
That's what I mean.
What do I have for
educate these people?
I give this a solid, and like, I'm going to give this a solid 7.
Okay.
Maybe a 6.5, actually, now that I'm saying 7 out loud. 7 feels a little too high. So I'm going to say 6.5. I enjoy it. I think it has a lot of some of the trappings that, like, some of that rap music that's in, like, the post-golden era, like the early 2000s, falls into, as far as, like, having all the skits, even though I like the skits, kind of being, like, a little all over the place, not really having, like, the best of identities. But I still really enjoy it. I mean, you still got like 2 really, really good, like major classic rap songs out of it.
True.
And I enjoyed a lot of the featers, even though I agree with y'all, it was a little busy. So solid 6.5. Mm-hmm. It's a high end 6.5, maybe a 6.75 final answer.
Okay. All right. Anthony, what do you got?
Well, I did give it a solid 6.5. Yeah, a lot of those reasons I agree with. You know, I don't see myself really listening to this album again, probably, unless someone was like, you need to re-listen. I'd be like, nah, I probably still wouldn't re-listen to it. But the top songs are fucking bangers, and I really love them. And they definitely, hearing those songs being sampled live is something that is always special. I think that's where Outkast, unfortunately, shines the most, is other artists sampling them in spurts. You know what I mean? But a lot of Outkast is a lot to take in. So that's why 6.5 for me.
That's fair. I'm going to give it a 7. And I
wow,
think,
look at us.
yeah, I think the 7 is right. Like, I could do without the skits, and the bad songs, man, are really bad to me.
Yeah.
But the good songs are really fucking good. So it's hard. But I think there's more good to this album than there is bad. So I can't in all good conscience put it in the 6 range. So I'm gonna put it at a 7. You know, I think that's fair. So that's where I'm at.
I think that's fair.
Any final thoughts on Stankonia before we go into rides or dies?
Not necessarily on Stankonia, more about just a final thought on you. I think this is a great pick for this podcast. And I just want to commend you for it. It's a good pick. It wasn't like something you're super familiar with. It sounds like.
Yep.
It's in a good era. It's a good touch on rap music. It's not a Drake album, which we will never do here. I thought it was great. So
I love the album name. I mean, Stankonia, what a great fucking word.
What an iconic album art too. You see that album, and Big Boy's looking super fresh in the white. You got Andre
short hair too,
short hair Andre, leather pants, they're
black and white.
They're the black and white thing is very much in play. So yeah.
No, I
think
think
that's what Rolling Stone does. You know, they're like, dude, album artwork, title, sick. Floated up to at least 100.
Yeah.
Right, true.
I think that's what I want to do more of is album hip hop albums that we're not all super familiar with, because it is fun to obviously gush about the Eminem Show and My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, but we got to broaden the horizons. You know, it's all about this is all about expanding Anthony's horizons. That's what the point of the podcast is. So we have to do that. You know. Okay.
We're almost out of Eminem albums to choose from, so we got to go somewhere, right?
All right, so let's get into
yours, Blake. Your rides or die with this. You mentioned graphic sexual nature of things, so why don't you tell us about your ride or die?
Yeah, so tell me about this thing, man.
Here's the thing. So, Parking Next Door. I'm a big P&D guy, man. I love R&B music, and you know what? P&D makes great late night driving music. That's his niche, right? And there's a Drake P&D album on the way coming in the fall.
Oh my god.
And it's gonna be so sad boy late night driving vibes, dude. I'm gonna be fucking rolling windows down, just blaring some P&D, you know? And look, is it sexual? Is he having sex with a woman on the cover? Yeah, but you know what? If you can't get with that, then I don't know, get your game up and get some pussy or something. I don't know what to tell you. So I think that it's a great song. I love P&D. I love that whole album. I'm not going to subject you guys to it because I know you wouldn't like it. But yeah, big Party Next Door fan. And I've also been listening to for some reason, I was listening to Birthday Sex the other day, and then I was listening to I Want to Fuck You by Akon, and I don't know. I think I'm just on a horny music vibe recently. I don't really know what's going on there. But yeah.
By recently, you mean the last 15 years of your life? Yeah, no, I definitely, you're right.
Yeah, so Trey, what did you think of old P&D?
Dies so hard. It's so bad, dude. It's so
what
bad.
Are you why? Why is it bad?
Man, it's just the lyrics are bad. I mean, the beat's not even terribly fluid or enjoyable. Good. Listen,
you don't know R&B music, bro. That's what it is.
I get down to R&B. All right, the first song I ever had on my phone was "Let It Burn" by Usher. I think it was an Usher track for sure.
Solid album.
I'm pretty sure it was "Let It Burn." So yeah, don't come at me on that front. This is just this new age, almost rapping R&B. Give me some D'Angelo. I'll bump that late night. I'll light a candle. I'm smooth with it. But no, absolutely not. And also, while we're talking about album art, man, this is just too aggressive. Me and Anthony were together. No, it's not great. Me and Anthony were together last night when you sent this Rides or Dies, and I looked at it and said, well, here's Blake's, and he looked at it and he just shook his head. And then he threw up the pizza he was just eating. That's how disgusted he was.
Whatever, man. Fucking classic album cover. And my favorite is when he released it, everyone on Reddit was like, I can't listen to this shit in public, man.
Literally, you're supposed to put that, if you got your money up like I do and you have, Apple Home or whatever it's called that's in your car, And you
right on the dash.
Yeah, just have that right on the dash.
So good, so inspiring.
You literally need like a those old school magazine privacy shields for your your screen on your navigation. Just to childproof that.
Whatever, man. I think it's great. Anthony, what were your thoughts?
Oh man, this song definitely dies for me. I would not call this R&B. I would feel that's like such a disgrace to true R&B.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
no,
like,
you guys are wrong, dude.
Now, if you want to call this like new age mumble, whatever, something,
Anthony,
R&B,
you're such an old man. You're such
it's like Trap and B or something. Yeah,
Trap and B.
Yeah, there you go. Plus, the song's called Control, and it's a sex song, and like, I'm a little yeah. But Blake, if you did bring this album to the podcast, I would listen to it all the way through.
Oh, God, here we go.
I would finish it, but would I like it? Probably not. So you're right about that. But no, it dies for me. Sorry.
Whatever, man. Album art, 10 out of 10 for me. Song, 10 out of 10. So, Trey, what do you got?
All right, so I picked...
Wait, hang on. Can I just want to show people, just so they're aware of what we're talking about real quick, what the album art is. So this is the album art for Party Next Door 4.
Everyone on the internet knows.
They're going to...
So good.
I don't feel comfortable having that up on the podcast, actually. I think we got to cut that.
YouTube might flag us. We'll find out.
Yeah.
All right, Trey, what do you got?
I picked a SES9 track from their Axe the Cables live album that's available on Spotify. The song that I selected was Life's Sweet Breath. So for those that don't know, SES9 just had a Red Rock show a couple weeks ago that unfortunately got canceled right as they were about to go on stage due to bad weather. So SES9 has promptly rescheduled that show to have a 4-set show on
end of September
29th. I'll actually have already been in town for a friend's wedding, so I will be at that show.
Nice.
But they'll be opening.
Is it an act show? Or is it like multiple sets?
It's 4 sets, and the first
That's
set.
That's what I thought. Gotcha.
Assumably, the first set will be an act set. So kind of in honor of that, I was listening to this album kind of late night the other night. I sent this song to y'all at like 4 a.m. I don't know if you noticed that. But yeah, it's a really, really good song, in my opinion. Very chill. But yeah, I'm excited to see or hear how you feel about it.
Yeah. Anthony?
You want me to go? Yeah, so I love this song. I love this album. I've listened to this album at least for 10 years probably. But my favorite song on that album is Glenn Tells Kango. That song is really special to me, but Life's Sweet Breath, anytime you get to hear it is worth it. So definitely gets a hard, almost as hard as P&D ride.
Yeah.
From me.
Nobody rides as hard as P&D, I'll tell you that much.
our album.
I will say, I didn't know they had a Bonnaroo Highlights album on Spotify. It's just 3 songs. That's fucking tight. Yeah, it's a fucking ride for me. Axe the Cables, STS9. I'm a big look. Trey, you know me. You know I vibe with the tribe.
STS9.
Yeah, Why me, dime me, STS9. I vibe with the tribe. Always been a big fan. I've seen an Axe the Cables set. I think Anthony, we saw an Axe the Cables set at Electric Forest, right? That was the morning set that they did.
We might have.
Yeah, we did.
I can't remember exactly, but
we did, and it was great. And so yeah, hard rides for me, man. I love some Tribe, and I got to try to get to that show, and maybe that will be Amanda's first jam band show, because Pretty Lights is apparently going to be the second, because he is not an electronic artist.
He's a jam band.
They are a jam band. So, but yeah, I would love to go see him again. And September will be perfect. The weather will be nice. So yeah,
tickets should be virtually free.
Yeah.
Before we move on to Anthony's Rides or Dies, just want to give you guys some
hang on. I do want to say before your breaking news, actually, your song dies because of what you did to P&D. All right, go ahead.
It rides.
Retraction.
Can't take it back. All right, breaking news coming out of the Fish camp. Billy Strings is currently sitting in with Fish.
Now?
Yeah, right this very moment on a song called The Moma Dance.
Damn it.
So that will be out later this evening on livefish.com.
Where are they playing?
They are playing in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which is Billy's hometown.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah. So
I had another band to Billy's feature list. That man's
Right.
getting
real.
around. Dave Tipper may not get around to featuring a whole lot, but Billy Strings does.
Billy Strings is a slut. He is a slut.
He for
He'll let
takes
anybody
time.
smash.
He's like, I'll do anything. Get on that
I'll do
stage.
anything. I'll do anything for money, baby.
Hell yeah.
All right, Anthony, what do you got?
Anthony.
All right, so my Ride or Dies is also a graphic album artwork. Blake, you can pull that up if you want to. Dispatch America on Location 13, maybe. But the track is called Only the Wild Ones. I fucking love Dispatch. Dispatch might be my favorite outdoor barefoot band to see. Like, it is like, I've acquainted it to like electronic gypsy folk rock. They're super fun. If you get a chance to see, yeah, there you go. See, we got nudity on there. A little booty cheek out in the wilderness.
All right.
But yeah, this song really is like one of my favorites on that album, and I think it just means a lot to me, like personally. But yeah, if you get a chance to see Dispatch, absolutely please do go see them.
So it's okay to see a white man's ass, but a black woman you're not okay with seeing? That says a lot about you, Anthony. No, now I see the trend.
You can't say that.
It's the suggestive.
That's a sexist and racist comment, which is not the case. You have somebody being penetrated.
Well, we don't know. We can't see. We can't see what's going on. We don't know.
We know what's going on. It's heavily implied.
Listen to that track versus this one. Very different.
All right, Trey, what do you think?
Go ahead.
Anthony, I got a lot of respect for you, and I got a lot of respect for your opinions, and I even got a lot of respect for Dispatch. Out Loud was going back to kind of early iPod days. I love that song Out Loud. I like Dispatch a lot. This song sounds like a Land Rover commercial soundtrack. And I'm sorry, because the thing is, I really like the lyrics of this. Like, I think they're really, really pretty. Like, so you pack your things, move to the other coast. Said you're going to be like Charlie Rose, only the wild ones give you something and never want it back. Oh, right, and rush. Anyway, I like that whole verse. The sound of this just sounds too, like, it's
gimmicky?
Too, like, kind of, no, not gimmicky, more like just like kind of cookie cutter of this type of music. Whereas I think Dispatch has a lot better songs. Do like Dispatch, don't particularly like the song. Unfortunately, the song dies for me.
Yeah. Maybe see it live. It might change.
I've never seen them live, and I would really enjoy that.
I think
I would probably be barefoot in a field somewhere.
I can envision you right now. Trey's a swing dancer, ladies and gentlemen. If you've never seen Trey lose it at a show, swing dancing, you know he's in his element.
I'll swing dance.
This is the band to go and do it too. So if you get a chance, I'm telling you, especially in North Carolina, man, like that's the vibe. That's the place.
It doesn't die hard; it just dies.
See what we did?
It's a soft dies.
We're getting there. We're getting
soft
there.
Dies.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Anthony, like, it's a dies for me too. I was just really bored, and I'm not saying this because of how you did P&D, but like, it wasn't me. And now that Trey said Land Rover commercial, that's all I can think of now that I'm listening to it.
It's what it sounds like.
It's very, like, I don't know. And Anthony, you and I have a history with you sending songs that are cosplaying Christian rock songs, and that's kind of what this feels like. It feels kind of like we would play this in church kind of vibe to it, and I don't like church, so I think that was probably part of it too. So I don't know. Just
I don't get that. I don't think
it's a dies for me, you know. But I also like Dispatch. Like, I've listened to a little Dispatch, but this was just not the pick for me. So
again, I would recommend going to see them, and then you might change. Like, you know, some bands, like Tribe is one of these. You know, like Tribe's studio albums are really good, but like doesn't translate what being at a Tribe show is like. You know, the more recent album is interesting in that way, but like being in that atmosphere with that energy being conjured on stage is something special. But yeah, apparently on this podcast, if you have nudity on your album artwork, double dies. You get dies from everybody.
Not a great pod for nudity.
No, No.
All right, so let's get into the movie. We got Superbad, which was Trey's pick, and Trey wanted to bring some lighthearted nature after watching Bo is scarring Blake, and so we we went with
like that a lot.
Superbad. And let me tell you something, man. I forgot how fucking funny this movie is. Like, I was at home last night by myself. I drank some beers, and I was on the verge of pissing myself multiple times. That scene where he gets hit by the car is one of the funniest comedic moments I have ever seen in a movie. Like,
which one? Which accident? He got hit twice.
When the guy,
He does get hit twice. You're right.
when the guy backs into him in the parking lot, the way he falls, and the way he's like, "What the fuck?" The guy just it's so good.
Yeah.
So a little bit of background on Superbad to like kind of film nerd out or whatever is the movie is written by Seth Rogen and what's his writing partner's name? I always forget.
Evan Goldberg.
Yeah.
Evan Goldberg.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about them, right? This was like their like peak, their peak by almost
School
autobiographical film. And dude, I mean, they just nail every single thing there is about going to a high school party and like kind of being like a little awkward in high school, where it's so relatable. And just, I mean, when you say like I'm crying laughing now just thinking about the scenes of this movie, and it doesn't stop. It's like
dude,
it's like Arrested Development Archer style writing, where every single line is just
every line is a joke.
So funny.
For the first I swear to God, the first 75% of that movie, every line is another joke. Like, I didn't realize it until I watched it last night. I was like, this is everything they're saying is a new joke, and it's so good, dude.
And it was wild because this movie came out while we were in high school. Or Blake, you might have been about to come into high school.
Yeah.
So it was such a real time experience that we got to see on screen, and this was in heavy rotation back then.
Oh
because
we watched it all the time.
Yeah. And this movie's full of their when you hear Michael Cera and these guys drop names like first and last name, these are real people from their high school that they live with.
Really?
And
That's
like
sick.
Steve Glansberg is a guy that they knew, which was just kind of like a joke to say you want to eat lunch alone, like Steve fucking Glansberg.
Glansberg.
So they're
I
so
still
many
say
jokes.
that.
Oh yeah. And then there's full of references too, like pop culture references. Like when I first looked in his eyes, it was like listening to the Beatles for the first time. It's it is nonstop comedy, but also these are experiences we've had. So I was gonna ask you guys, have y'all, or if you want to share any either house party or I call it a hey mister, where you get to ask someone to buy you alcohol. Any interesting stories from your experiences?
Allegedly. Go, Trey.
Okay. Well, a lot of ours, I'm going to try to pick one that isn't a shared experience, but I guess in a lot of ways it is
right.
for either one of you. So I never had to hey mister people because I got my fake ID before I even drank alcohol or bought tobacco.
Same.
I met a guy, or I knew a guy who I won't bring up, even though I'm sure the statute of limitations quite fall behind on this. And he and I looked kind of similar, and so he gave me his ID, and then I would just have it. It had holes punched in it, but I would have it in front of my ID, just perfectly lined up, where you couldn't tell.
It looked like
in it. It just looked like a regular ID, and then I would just show it at a couple gas stations when they never asked me to pull it out. This is kind of before they scanned IDs, and it worked every time. So I would buy alcohol for people that were going to parties that I wasn't even going to, or wouldn't, because I wasn't invited because I was a loser. And they would just be like, hey, buy us alcohol or we'll beat your ass. No, that didn't happen. But yeah, I never had to hey mister anybody. So I don't even know what that experience is really like.
Yeah, I was the same way. And party wise, there's a lot of stories that I could think of. the throwing up scene where he's trying to get her something when she's throwing up in bed actually reminds me of a friend of mine whose name I'm not going to mention. And one time I threw a party at Todd's house, and I had a bunk bed that like the bed was up top and there's a futon down below, and he was in the bunk bed and he was throwing up, and a girl that was with us at the time brought him he was like, I need something to throw up in, and she brought him like a fucking Forever 21 like plastic bag, and like I remember him throwing up into it and like mid throw up being like, why would you bring me this bag? Out of all the things you could have brought me, like that. And just I remember one time, and I hope that, nobody's gonna say anything, but Thomas Lowry threw a party at his lake house one time. And there's
this man's first and last name.
I can try
Allegedly.
to edit that out. Yeah. But there's a guy that was throwing beer bottles at the trees outside one time, and he called him out for it. It was basically like, you need to help me go pick up this shattered glass outside. And the guy was like, yeah, man, like I don't really know what was going on out there. Like somebody was throwing. And Thomas, like, he looks at him and he looks at me and he goes, I mean, it was you. And just like stares directly at him. Like, just so many funny moments.
Wait, who was throwing the glass bottles? I want to know.
It was Andre's something. I can't remember Andre's last name.
Oh, I remember that kid. Yeah.
And Thomas, like, and he did this face. He goes, like, when he looked at it,
they were like best friends too.
Yeah.
Like they were boys.
Oh, so funny. But
what about you, Anthony?
Well, I definitely have Hey Mistered at the beach. That was probably the only place where I felt it was necessary to have to do that. Because we had friends over here that, it looked like they were 30. One of our friends who, I'm not going to name him, and he's done.
I was going to, yeah.
This guy had his photo in every single gas station over the course of a year. His mom went out and put his photo in all these gas stations to say, like, do not sell to this kid. He is 16. But he looked like he was 40. But no, in Florida, one time me and a buddy, Will, went to Tampa for New Year's, and we were probably 17. No, he was turning 18. So we went to Tampa, and we ended up at a house party there that my cousin knew somebody, but we knew nobody there. But this was a fucking mansion in Tampa, Florida, with a bunch of privileged kids and a shitload of alcohol. And something happened like in this movie where there was a fight outside. And me and Will, who were playing beer pong, literally not leaving the table, everyone rushes out of the house, and it's him and I stuck at this table inside of a mansion. No one's there, and a bunch of alcohol. So we started we filled up 2 liters with like handles of like a Sprite 2 liter with a handle of vodka, just to like get it in our grasp. Yeah,
that's good, dude. That's so good.
It's amazing.
I just have to say, there's a lot of lines in this movie that like really made me laugh, and I wrote down a handful of them. Like one of the early ones is, you got like 12 hand jobs, and he goes, and 3/4 of a blowjob, but who's counting? Like, because I don't know how you get 3/4 of a blowjob, but for some reason, one of the things that made me laugh the hardest, and I don't know why I found it so funny, was when they're doing the Yoda impression in the police car. Seth Rogen says, yeah, like Yoda from Attack of the Clones. Like, why did he use Attack of the Clones? Like, he could have used any other Star Wars reference, but the fact that he said Attack of the Clones made me laugh so fucking hard.
That's hilarious.
Oh, man.
My favorite line is when they're in the car with the guy who hit him, and he goes, "You guys on MySpace or?" Which is like, it's such a dating joke, but it's so funny because there's like dead silence. It's like that's how he breaks the silence.
He goes, "What the fuck is this? $7?"
I wrote down one was early in the film, and I think it's Jonah Hill. He's saying like, no one wants to suck dick at fucking pussy. Those words together is just fucking comedic gold.
It really is.
Shit. I love when he's talking about drawing the dicks, and he talks about how the girl found the really big one. He goes, the real big veiny triumphant bastard.
Yeah. Now, this movie, people say like there's no comedies anymore, and like you can't do a movie like this nowadays. But this one, I think you could. Like, there's
100%.
not much red flags. There's
really
this
not.
is an experience. You know?
Yeah.
I think it definitely could be done. I would love to see a spinoff with or a sequel with following the cops, Bill Hader and Seth Rogen, just like the aftermath of them fucking blowing up their car and shit. Like that would be funny.
There actually is a movie that's called Booksmart.
Yeah,
and it's like it's basically like a female Superbad.
But it's not as good. It's not as good,
dude. It's really Booksmart is really. Funny.
It is funny.
Jokes,
but...
I mean, it's not as good. Nothing's as epic as like you know what I mean.
Yeah,
and in a lot of ways, Superbad kind of changed. Like there was a lot of comedies that imitated what they did afterwards, and it launched. You know, like Jonah Hill and the Seth Evan combo and everything.
Yeah.
But Booksmart is great. Especially I'm sure women resonate more with Booksmart probably than they do than Superbad, but in a lot of ways because a lot of it's a little more like female centric jokes, but like it's not like a female power movie by any means like that. Like it's still really really funny and raunchy and all kinds of great stuff.
Is really funny.
Yeah. So
have y'all seen Sausage Party done by these guys?
I heard it was terrible, so I didn't watch it.
Trey,
I have not seen it.
Okay, gotcha.
Is it good?
Yeah, fuck yeah, it's good. There's a series that just came out, which is like a 10-episode thing after Sausage Party, but because I actually was gonna bring it to the podcast next week, but you brought this one, which is done by the same guys, so I figured I'd just mention it. But Sausage Party is hilariously worth seeing. It's comedy you couldn't do with humans, but with food, and it's obviously animated, but the show on Amazon Prime, Foodtopia, I think is what it's called. It's a Sausage Party spinoff. It's fucking excellent. So I could not recommend it enough. Nice. But you got to watch Sausage Party first and then go into that.
I want to watch that tonight.
Yeah, it's wild. It's fucking hilarious.
So who's got? I have movie next week. Who has album?
Yeah,
Anthony has album.
Yep.
All right, hit us with it.
Want me to start?
My first pick.
I'll give you,
I want to guess.
I'll give you a guess. It is a band, but it is also a band that I have done a ride or die in the past. If that helps. You guess the artist. Is not.
Oh fuck! Third Eye Blind.
It's not. Good guesses though. Good guesses. So it's P Groove, Perpetual Groove.
Yes.
Album is Sweet Oblivious Antidote. Now, on Spotify, there is a 20th anniversary remaster of this album, but the last two tracks are not on the original album. So if you listen to that Sweet Oblivious Antidote, the title track, it would be the last track. And Trey, if you're going to be in North Carolina on Saturday, they're playing Black Mountain, so not too far.
Are they really?
They are, sir.
I might take my mother.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
that would
really
be fucking cool.
I was looking for a show to take her to, and like P Groove would be perfect. Like it's chill, it's fun.
Yeah, and she can feature on the podcast if you want next week.
Yeah, I'll bring my mom on the podcast.
And then
bring your mother to work day.
on the 16th, August 16th, they're playing in Birmingham for those listening to. So they're touring right now. So I figured it's a perfect time to bring this album, 20th year. Sweet Oblivious Antidote.
Nice.
Cool.
For movie, you guys are going to have to go a little out of your way for this one, and I apologize, but we're going to do Trap by M. Night Shyamalan, which is in theaters right now. So you have to find a time to see it between now and next week. But
have you seen it yet?
I have not seen it yet. So
gotcha. I saw it last week, so we'll talk about it.
Okay, so that locks us in that we have to record on Tuesday because I won't be able to see it until Monday.
Yeah. Okay.
So heads up. Yeah.
All right, that works. I'll probably see it Monday as well.
Right,
actually,
cool.
when does Alien come out? It's not.
It's this weekend, right?
No, it's next weekend. It's next weekend.
It's the 16th.
Yeah, it's the 16th.
Okay.
So maybe I'll just go see Twisters again and Trap back to back because Twisters fucking rocked. So All right. Nice. Well, guys, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining. Anthony, Trey, thanks for joining. We will see you guys next week. And break.
Damn it. We'll work on that. See